Hey, kia ora koutou, tēnā koe, welcome back. I've got my friend back again. Hi, Chewy.
When?
And guess
How you
what?
doing, man?
Guess what?
What's that? Oh, fuck yes.
Hey people, we're going to open up Discord tonight for the second half of the show. Completely up to you whether we use it or not. Love to have you on board. Love to have you in Discord with us. It's a what's the sad horn, Joey? I've never played with these before. You always push them. What's the sad horn?
Yeah, oh, it's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, perfect.
I got to play these all the time. Actually, we should have them going all the time.
That's just so you know, that's the sound that Sean Plunkett makes when he ejaculates.
This one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what his partner does. Golf clap. Hey.
Hey, wait until you're introduced to the whole world of being able to put your own ones in there.
Well, I already
That's
can.
very
I've got that. That's where my cackling Heather Display Allen is. I've got my own sound for that as well. Remember?
There you go.
Oh, kia ora koutou whānau. Lovely to be back with you again tonight. So listen, this is how it works with Discord. It's super simple. You jump on Discord whilst you're listening to us. I'll even bring it across here into my page to show you my whole Discord, and I'll bring it up on screen for us. Jump into Discord, there we go, and you there is the live call in down the bottom there, and you go to this part here, which is the waiting room. So you get yourself in the waiting room. Whilst you're waiting in there, we chat, we see someone's waiting, we come and we grab you, and we say, oh, good day there, thanks for calling, first time caller, long time listener, what would you like to talk about? Now, in saying all of that, this is a bit of a heads up because typically we'll do it in the second half of the show. You can go get in there now if you want, but you'll be waiting till after 1:30 till we actually chat with you, but you're welcome to do that. Other than that, we'll give you a heads up when it's time. Hubba huge, first time listener, long time talker. Is that what it is? Something like that. And what we'll do is we'll give away some of the new merch to one person who gets on Discord and talks to us. Now, speaking of the new merch, there's been a lovely little amount of take up from that this week. We appreciate it greatly. It is one of the ways that we help pay for the odd bits and bobs around here. The shop is bhnshop.nz. I nearly forgot what it was. The topical shirt for this week, bottom feeder shirts. We got hoodies. Someone said that you can't see the hoodies if you go to the mobile app. Not sure quite why that is. I got a message today, but they're on the website. Bottom feeder hoodies in rust and tan and black. That's what the tan colour actually is. That's what the rust colour actually is. bhnshop.nz. But we haven't done this week for these. But I thought just for tonight, for a bit of fun, if you want to get involved, we'll give you a 10% off promo code. That's only valid until 10:30 p.m. tonight. And it's 10% off as opposed to free delivery. Because some of you beautiful people who live in RDs cost me a shit ton to get it sent to you. So I'm sorry. I can't quite cop that cost this time around, so we'll just do 10% off. So if you buy a hoodie, it's basically $10 off. The hoodie you still pay for your own postage though, which if you're not RD is less than $10. And so that includes the bottom feeder gear and also the BHN general merch as well if you want to get involved. And the promo code for tonight that's active until 10:30 p.m. is Treaty, TREATY. And if you, of course, pick something up off the merch shop tonight before we finish the show, we'll make sure we'll give you a shout out as we go along as well. So TREATY is the promo code. It'll give you 10% off, I assume, if I've set it up correctly. And that code is only workable until 10:30 p.m. tonight, Thursday, the 19th of October. If you happen to be listening to this as the audio podcast, I'm sorry. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do a little, you know what I'm going to do? I'll do it next week. I'll do a little special intro or outro that only plays on the audio podcast, and I'll give you audio podcast as a little bit of a secret promo code for next week. How about that? That's not a bad idea.
That's pretty good.
Okay, I've got a little story to tell. It's only about 20 minutes old, my little story. My partner received a text message from her daughter. Hey, Mum, I've dropped and cracked my phone. This is my temporary phone number. And
Oh, yeah.
just as I was leaving upstairs, just as I was leaving the lounge, she was talking to her daughter, going, "No, you texted me at 4:00 this afternoon," and her daughter's going, "Nope, scam." Hadn't got to the point yet where the scammer obviously because my partner was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine. I've got you here now." Hadn't got to the part where the scammer had gone, "Oh, now I need another $800 to get a new phone, Mum." Hadn't got to that point, but I wasn't involved. I didn't know about it until tonight. I just got told that her daughter had broken her phone. I'm like, oh, bummer. Interesting to see it in real time though, and have the wheels kind of go, that's what's happening. Real time scam. There you go.
Yeah. Super easy way to spot a common one. It wouldn't work with that one, but I'm seeing a lot through work and that sort of thing, talking about unpaid bills and that sort of thing. Organizations, companies, that sort of thing, they don't text from normal numbers. They text from small 3 or 4 digit long numbers.
Right.
So if it's something like that and it comes in from a full like New Zealand cell phone number or an overseas phone number, it's absolutely a scam.
Yeah. And I'm sure those scammers right now are feeling
sad pricks anyway. If I never have to deal with another older customer that's been fucking scammed, it'll be too soon.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, you went with us yesterday, Chewy, so you missed out on a chat with the alternate Jewish voices of New Zealand. It was great, really, really good, and I made about 4 or 5 clips from it today and put a couple of them on TikTok and put the rest of them on Twitter. You'd notice everyone in the media is now saying Twitter, or saying X, formerly known as Twitter. It's like, it's Twitter. It's like, it's a tweet. What do you call it if you send an X? An excrement? It's still Twitter. I don't care what they say. It's Twitter. Yeah. Anyway, I put the rest of them on Twitter, so hopefully you guys will have seen some of them. And if you didn't catch the interview last night, it's in its entirety and it's up and it's on YouTube. You missed the conversation, Chewy, but we are going to continue tonight with some of the themes around that, especially to do with this hospital bombing. Should we just rip into that? Because, I mean, I was going to say, you missed it last night, but do you want to say anything? If you're going to say anything, we might as well do that as the first topic, I guess. Do you want to
absolutely.
pick up on any of that, or should we do news stories? How do you you're in charge tonight, Chewy? How do you want to roll this?
Let's talk about the hospital thing. I'm not going to play the video because I haven't had time to isolate it down, but there's I have put it up in Discord actually. I was very eager. Oh, eager is the wrong word, but very happy to think that the Israelis had bombed a hospital straight out of the gates, because, you know, my sympathies are with the Palestinian people.
Our heart
not
is
Hamas, the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
And there's this guy that I follow, and it's mainly due to his very, very good analysis around Ukraine. So I've been following him for a couple of years now. And he put out a very good video that was just basically how intelligence analysts look at an event and how they grade it in a sliding scale of likeliness.
Right.
So if you've got four scenarios, you can go through the scenarios and see how likely it is to be this. And he just did a breakdown, and he was just saying, I'm not going to tell you one way or the other to believe who did this or not, but here's what we could look at and what we know. And I've got to be honest, he changed my mind. And basically it all boiled down to, I don't think Israel has anything to gain from bombing an obvious hospital. I think Hamas tried to do something sneaky, and it either hideously backfired on them or they did it on purpose. Hamas is a terrorist organization and a pseudo government in Gaza, but certainly not one that the people have control over. They don't have to fear a public backlash if they're caught doing something sneaky or lying like this. So I think that it would have been a very attractive proposition to them to make it look like Israel bombed a hospital. Well, I still don't think that Israel's massive retaliation is a good way to go. In fact, I myself am banned now from the Israeli Air Force Facebook page. But yeah, I think in this one, I think that Israel might not be guilty of it.
Well, last night, as I always am, Chewy, I was quite careful. And I'm not careful because I'm a fence sitter. I'm careful because I like to know what the absolute truth is. And I'm still not prepared to take a position on this. Absolutely not prepared to take a position of this. Emma in the chat has just said if the US is our source, they are not to be trusted. Agreed, completely agreed. And also the same for the IDF. If they're the source, not to be trusted. So one could say the same for Hamas as well. If Hamas is the source, not to be trusted. So what I've been doing is looking around for some independent sources, and I know that mainstream media, commercial media and stuff, there's vested interests. Maybe you can't entirely trust their word either, but that's what I've been doing. And I opened up, and I'll play it for you. I'm going to play the TVNZ news story, and then I'll play you this other one. It's a BBC report. They have a little area within the BBC called BBC Verify, I think. Yep, BBC Verify. It's like their fact checkers. And I played that thinking, okay, what's this going to tell us? And it started talking about what it looked more likely to be than the other. And what they said, and I'll show you, is it looks more likely to be not Israel. For a bunch of reasons, including impact craters, the sound of the missile. It didn't sound like one that would be launched from a plane. Various things. Now, I'm also now not on the side of, so therefore Hamas did it. But I think it's always good for us, no matter where you sit on this conversation, to wait for all the facts to come in. And that's why I'm always quite careful until we know all the facts. And it sometimes gets me in trouble with some people. There would have been some people grumpy last night when I said, well, I will use the word allegedly until it's proved beyond reason, as I would in a murder case. And I'm not saying it's panned out to be alleged today, but I think we should know at some stage, and the point we will know is when we get fragments from the actual explosive devices, and then that will say where they're from. Although even in saying that, if we get that, say from Hamas, is that from a Israeli missile that was fired a week ago? I don't know. But look, the other thing, Chewy, is you kind of said, what Israel had to gain from hitting a hospital. Well, what does Israel have to gain from hitting an apartment building full of civilians? It's like, so this is the quandary. I don't see what they've got to gain from that. And just backing onto the whole thing, and this is, I think, a part of what's going on at the moment. If you have a look, obviously the IDF is trending on Twitter at the moment. And if you have a look at the comments coming in from commentators and journalists, a lot of them are saying things like Ash Sarkar is quite high profile in the UK. Until there's an independent verification, nobody can say for certain who dropped that bomb. But what I would say is the IDF initially blamed the shooting of Shireen Abu Akleh on Palestinians, who's a journalist, I believe, and held that line for as long as possible before quietly admitting culpability. And what seems to be happening is a lot of journalists, not necessarily affiliated with any one group, independent journalists from all sorts of groups, not just Al Jazeera or not just, Israeli or Hamas, are saying one of the problems with us getting information about is the IDF always lie. They always lie. It's a little bit like, it's the boy who cried wolf. When the wolf was real, no one believed them. And if you go through, this is just the trending IDF. If you go through and you look at some of the things, see, IDF has already demonstrated that to be fake. 2014, when Israeli missiles killed 9 children playing football on Gaza beach, the IDF blamed terrorists. So it happens again and again and again. And I'm not saying that to now put the blame 100% on the IDF, but what I'm saying is this just so fucking muddies the water, because immediately you don't trust. And you and me are the same, Chewy. Like, our hearts are with Palestinian people, so we don't trust the messaging from the other side, but we have to be careful not to necessarily go wholeheartedly behind the side we're on with what their government's saying, because their government's a terrorist organization. So what do we do?
And it's an important illustration there, right? Is like I said, quite happy to believe that the Israelis would sling a 1,000-pound bomb in a hospital. But I looked for other opinions. I looked for people that I trust, whose authenticity or trustworthiness has been verified by me in the past, and he had a different point of view, and I didn't rule it out. So that's, I guess, a big part of when you look at things like this, especially such a muddy situation as this, that it's not always black and white.
Yeah.
And, people are shitty. They do shitty things.
And look, this is where, and I've said this a lot on this show, that we don't, and no one here is, right? But in general, people don't have to lie to make a point. The truth should stand on its own. And I remember writing this blog post once, which was intelligent debate versus ideology. And I think we would all agree, Chewy, I think everyone out there would agree, that no one would say that they're right 100% of the time. Sometimes we get things wrong. But an ideologue always thinks they're right 100% of the time. So you can't really debate an ideologue. Now that means sometimes the ideologue will be right, but sometimes they'll be wrong. So intelligent debate versus ideologue means intelligent debate means you weigh up the circumstance as it comes. And sometimes your side, our side, their side might be in the wrong. Is this one of those instances? I don't know. I genuinely don't know yet. But all I'm saying is I don't think anyone can go in full tit and say this is 100% what happened yet. That's where I'm at right now. And I think that's kind of fair. And as I said, some of our lovely lefty friends that'll really annoy. And I'm like, well, I'm not, no, sorry. I will, before I make a public statement, I just like to see 100% of the truth. And as I said to Marilyn last night, I don't find the IDF story credible. More information has come out today. Other people are saying Hamas's story is not credible. I guess that's what they're saying. They're saying the Hamas story is not credible. It's
a goddamn mess, and if everybody could just chill out for a bit, that'd be great.
Smoke some more ganja. Have a peace pipe, literally. So let's have a look, shall we, at a couple of the stories. I'll play you that BBC story shortly, but let's start with the one news from tonight, which also includes sleepy Joe Biden's trip to Israel for 36 hours as well.
To Gaza in the first sign of progress in addressing the deteriorating civilian crisis in the region.
Oh, and this is obviously good news because there's humanitarian aid getting into Gaza now. Not as much as is needed. The UN asked for. I thought about old mate David Seymour when we were watching him with Moana the other day. What has the UN ever done for you? The UN is currently negotiating aid to get into Gaza. So sorry, ACT. Sorry, David Seymour. What have they done? Well, they're trying to help 2 million people not die from starvation and lack of water at the moment. That's what the UN has done for lots of people around the world. So good news that there's some trucks going on. I believe they say there's 20 trucks going in. They wanted 100. At least it's something, but there is some humanitarian aid getting into Gaza, which is more than desperately needed.
But after an 11-day blockade, the supplies coming from Egypt are limited. There'll be 20 trucks carrying food and water, no mention of fuel. It's not clear when this will start going in, and the UN said it was seeking 100 trucks a day. Meanwhile, the blame game is raging over the strike at the hospital in Gaza. US intelligence agrees with Israel that it was a wayward Hamas rocket.
Emma, we agree with you. We take that with more than a grain of salt, what US intelligence is saying.
Jordan's foreign minister says no one in the Arab world is buying that, and protests are increasing around the world. In a moment, Logan Church takes a look. But first, Kim Baker-Wilson with the latest in the region.
What's left of Al Ahli Hospital. The clean-up of what can be cleaned up is grim. Remains are still being taken away.
God have mercy. They were civilians.
Hundreds who lost their lives came here to stay alive. The blast and the fire has turned it into a sea of belongings and burnt cars. It became a killing ground.
There was no warning before the hospital was targeted. There were about 3,000 people who were taking shelter here.
Hamas says it was Israel. Israel further maintaining it's not to blame.
The trajectory
and again, IDF, sorry, this is the person defending their own actions or not. You're not independent.
Analysis from the barrage of rockets confirms that the rockets were fired close proximity to the hospital. According to our intelligence, Hamas checked the reports, understood it was an Islamic Jihad rocket that had misfired.
The US is backing it. Joe Biden in Tel Aviv on a high-stakes intervention.
And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Israel got that agreement and more military aid from the US. But Biden is
hell do
getting
they need
humanitarian
military aid
aid
for?
into Gaza.
One of the most
He's saying
militarized
Israel.
countries in the Middle East.
Yeah, and look, the other thing is you missed this last night, True, about speaking to Marilyn from the Alternative Jewish Voices. She's like, the US, she didn't say has got blood on their hands. She didn't use that terminology, but basically saying the amount of involvement the US has had with the militarization of the region, they actually can't be involved in the peace negotiations. Like they can't be. That was her position. And I think that's pretty fair. And even today, yeah, you know, that Gaza is on some level is becoming more and more rubble every single day. Let's not even think about from the WHO at the moment, just the reality that that's happening. And the Americans are selling Israel more weapons. The military complex is jumping up and down, and we're seeing the stock prices of military companies going through the roof because of this. Like, I mean, you know, it is a little bit of the follow the money situation here, isn't it? So
I'm not seeing the voices that have been so strident in the US saying why are we giving money and arms to Ukraine to defend their territory, kicking up about this. So yeah, I mean there's an aspect of geopolitics in here as well. It's pretty clear that Russia will do pretty much anything to draw attention away, and if they've been involved somehow, I could believe that very easily. Now the global media is looking at what's happening in Gaza rather than what's happening in Ukraine.
yeah, that's interesting. It's really interesting because, I mean, there's probably a really good time to keep an eye on Ukraine as well. See what happens over there in the next few days, weeks, whilst, as you say, whilst the media of the world are looking at Gaza and Israel. We'll keep going to the end of the story, shall we?
That's it.
Up to 20 trucks. This has been a very blunt negotiation I've had.
It's coming from Egypt, and it's limited. Food, water, and medicine, but no fuel. Egypt needs to fix the road across its border, created by Israeli airstrikes. But it's the first crack in the week-and-a-half-long conflict. Survivors hurt in the hospital blast have been rushed to another. More strain on a system already under strain. Because there's no let-up in fighting.
Yeah.
Biden has walked a tightrope, showing support for Israel while easing a humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. He's warned...
I mean, just look at that image, you know. For those of you who are listening to the audio podcast, you can have to jump on YouTube and have a look at the image at about 23 minutes into the show. But just look at that image. I mean, it's really hard because I don't want to do whataboutism, and that's what everybody does. Well, what about Ukraine? Where were you guys supporting the Ukraine war? Why are you against the Ukraine war? It's like, it's not that. I just want to purely take that scene and go, that scene from weapons provided to Israel thanks to America versus what's happening in Israeli cities right now. You know, the disproportionate response. And remember, we've been very clear, we do not support the actions of Hamas whatsoever. But this, under those buildings, are also innocent people. You know, to basically say from one side, you killed our citizens, so that's wrong and contravenes all actions of law, so we're going to come in and kill your citizens. That's the problem. It's that kind of mentality from both of the groups at the top, the IDF, the Israeli government, and Hamas. That's the problem. And it's the people who were in those buildings. Those buildings had people in them. They probably still have people in them, just not quite as alive as they once were. It's just, you know, and what? And Marilyn said last night, I don't know if this is factual or not, but I'll take it as read, that in these conflicts, typically what happens is one Israeli dies for every 20 Palestinian. Now, I don't want to make that sound like, oh, okay, all good, you know, so that's a fair swap. It's like, it's just think of the numbers. Group A loses one party, Group B loses 20. Group A loses 1,300 civilians, like an atrocity. Group B now loses 10,000 citizens. It's like, it's just, how is this ever going to end? Where is it going to go?
There's a lot. It's running basically straight into what I would call it was a definite war crime, is the idea of collective punishment.
Yeah, it's all war crimes. 100% it's a war crime.
And I did see a comment from an Israeli, I don't know if he was in the IDF or he was part of the government or whatever, that was just basically like, well, the people of Gaza enabled Hamas. As if there was a free and fair election. And they went
17 years ago.
All 2.5 million of us have had a chat, and we go for it.
Well, hang on, hang on a sec, Joe, because we did talk about this last night. I'm not cutting you short. I just want to explain to people that the election was 17 years ago. The average age of a person in Gaza right now is 19. So maybe 5 to 7% of the people who are currently in Gaza voted for that election. So no, the people of Gaza did not vote Hamas in. 17 years ago, they got voted in by people who were living there 17 years ago, and like 90+% of the population who live there now didn't vote in that because they were too young or weren't alive.
And the idea of collective punishment being a war crime, look, that's what happened. Nazis were operating in an area and partisans would have a crack at a supply column and they'd just go to the nearest village and go, well, you guys must be supporting them, so you've all got to go. And, that was one of the things that came out in the Nuremberg trials and stuff like that, is that, wow, we can't have that. We can't have that. It's a god-awful mess. And this is one of the things where I wish that the UN had the speed and the power to go in and go, all right, we're sending in a neutral third party. I don't know, let's, for argument's sake, say Malaysia, to sort this out and negotiate an immediate ceasefire, somehow enforce a no-fly zone, so you can track by radar exactly what's happening. But that's not what we've got.
Maybe I'll play something for you. I saw this today on Sam Cedar's show. It's a bit strange. I'm going to be playing you a clip that was played on Sam Cedar's show, because you've prompted it by using that kind of collective punishment. Say that word again. What's the correct terminology?
Collective punishment.
That's what you said. That's the wording. Collective.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is from Sam Cedar's. I know it looks like Al Jazeera, but this is from Sam Cedar's page. We do what they do. I was going to say they do what we do, but they're before us. So we do what they do, and we show clips and they show clips. So there might be some. I hadn't had this queued up, but I'll actually just show it to you. I'll show you the whole thing. The headline for this clip is, "This is how you interview war crime apologists." So let's have a listen to this interview on Al Jazeera. Do they have any explanation before I play it? Mark Lamont Hill spoke with former Israeli Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon, and Ayalon told Hill that Israel will stop blockading vital resources to Gaza only if and when Hamas surrenders. Hill points out that doing so would constitute collective punishment, a violation of international law. Mm-hmm. So that's the setup to this. I don't know if we're going to quite get it in the right spot because I haven't queued it up, or if you're going to hear Sam's voice first. But have a look at this. This is how, as they say, you interview a war crimes apologist.
He said that the humanitarian situation, quote, will only deteriorate exponentially, and that crucial life-saving supplies, including fuel, food, and water, must be allowed into Gaza. So the UN is saying you must do this. You are saying you're not going to do this. How do you?
No, we're not saying that.
He's saying doing it immediately. What I'm saying is what you're doing. No. He's saying doing it immediately.
I got you. I'll tell you exactly what we're saying. I'm saying we will do everything for the Gazan people. Once and now, we demand immediate surrender, unconditional surrender of Hamas. If Hamas people come out with their hands up and...
You're making a...
My apologies, guys. I was just looking for something. I apologize.
You are saying you're not going to do this. How do you...
No, we're not saying that.
He's saying doing it immediately. What I'm saying is what you're doing. No. He's saying doing it immediately.
I got you. I'll tell you exactly what we're saying. I'm saying we will do everything for the Gazan people. Once and now, we demand immediate surrender, unconditional surrender of Hamas. If Hamas people come out with their hands up and clear their weapons, believe me, everything will be restored to Gaza. It is Hamas in Hamas hands.
Now I understand. Thank you for clarifying that, sir. I think we're actually on the same page here. You're saying that once Hamas leaves, you'll grant the Gazan people food, shelter, fuel, electricity, hospitals, schooling. And if they don't, and if Hamas doesn't leave, then they'll continue to starve and die in hospitals. You are defining for the international community right now collective punishment. You're saying until Hamas acts differently, the 2 million people in Gaza are going to be treated this way. And once Hamas acts differently, these 2 million people in Gaza will be treated better. That is exactly what collective punishment is. You're holding them accountable for the actions of others. That is the definition, the textbook definition of collective punishment, sir. Now, you may accept that that's what you want to do, but this is absolutely a contravention of international law.
Well, I'll tell you exactly. No, if we pushed them into the wall, we're not pushing them to the wall. We want to open a humanitarian corridor so they can leave. But if Hamas,
so that who can leave? Citizens? You're saying civilians can leave, but only through the Rafah border, correct?
At this point, yes.
So they can't come.
Where else?
Your country. They can come into Israel.
I'm telling you one more thing I want to say.
I want you to address that point. Don't just smile, sir, respectfully. You're saying you're making a corridor. They can go to Egypt. You're bombing them. You say you want to save them, but they can't come in.
There you go. That's pretty much the end of it there. The guys from Majority Report go on to point out that any Palestinian teenager, Israel will then nominate as being from Hamas as well, saying all the Hamas people have to come out with their hands up. So yes. Anyway, that was just off the cuff. I apologise that little glitch because I was trying to scroll through in real time to find out where the end would be. But that's the collective punishment. So and this is one of the things that Marilyn said last night. One of the differences now is they are being overt about the collective punishment. They're being overt about these things that are international crimes. They're just not hiding it anymore. And she said last night, Chewy, so you know that because she lived in Gaza for 4 years, and she was there through a couple of the bombings, and she was working in the aid basements, the shelters. And she said at their peak there was 1,000 people an hour coming into the shelters, and currently there are 2 to 3 times that. So that's how much worse it is. What's going on at the moment. So yeah, I wanted to show that because you brought up collective punishment, and that's Israel saying yes, we're doing collective punishment, which indeed is a war crime.
This is exactly what the UN was supposed to be about. This is the thing that over the last 70 years, the UN has been just neutered, and it's so slow to act. If we think back to the immediate post-war World War II thing, you had the Korean War, you had lots of stuff, like the UN did heaps of stuff in the Middle East to chill things out, and then they just don't have the resources, or they don't have the will, or they don't have the speed to do it anymore. And then you get geopolitics again. The US has an aircraft carrier strike group in the Mediterranean at the moment, a second on the way, and a Marine expeditionary force. That is a lot of power that has immediately been sent to the Middle East. And we know that the US is not a fair-dealing player in that region. They are very clearly an Israeli ally. So why would the people of Gaza hold out any hope that these people are there to help them when that hasn't been their experience? As much as I'm pro-American action supporting Ukraine, I'm not for them in this case. I personally think they should take a left turn and head straight into the Black Sea and park their carriers there. Yeah. But yeah. But it's a goddamn mess.
But what you're doing in those two examples, Shuey, is the intelligent debate part of the intelligent debate versus ideology. You can actually look at something and go, in this instance, this is the right thing to do. In this instance, this is the right thing to do. You're not always going, Israel's always right, or America's always right, or Hamas is always right. You're not doing that. You're actually looking and seeing item by item where your place is. So let's play this other clip. Sorry, yep.
I was just going to say this comment from Dr. Ratweasel. Yeah, absolutely. UN has been invisible for Ukraine and Russia, and there's a very good reason, and it's the same reason that they'll be quiet on this one. The veto on the Security Council. Somebody wants to do something and it's not in Russia's best interest, they'll veto it. Same for the US.
That happened today.
Yep.
There was
So-
just today.
so that's the
America
thing.
vetoed something through the UN that sounded like a really good idea to me, and they
Yep,
vetoed it.
that's often the way. Like, hey, Russia, get out of Ukraine, and they go, no, veto. Okay, well, we'll stop talking about it now. And it's exactly the same in Israel at the moment. Like, get rid of the permanent Security Council members, get rid of the vetoes. Just, God, something needs to change.
So let's have a look at this piece from BBC. And this is because what we will always do here is bring you information. And if it is unclear one way or the other, we'll probably bring you, multiple angles from this. That's sort of how I operate. I think more and more I get to know Chewy. It sounds like it's the way he operates as well. And at the moment, there are a lot of people. This is BBC. So this is not bought and paid for by, American gun money or by Israeli religious money or anything like that. I don't even know if that's a thing. And this is their assessment of the bombing. So this is a group within the BBC News called BBC Verify, and this was their thoughts around the bombing of the hospital.
The explosion happened last night at around 7 p.m. local time. The BBC Verify team has been analysing all the images and video that have emerged. You can see where the hospital is located within Gaza City. And this footage shows what appears to be the courtyard car park of the hospital in flames. We've been able to establish that that's what it is from the shape of the buildings. Now, the Al Jazeera television station was broadcasting live from Gaza at the time. You can see a series of bright lights in the air. We don't know exactly what these are. The Israeli army says there was a failed rocket launch by the Palestinian militant group Islamic Jihad. Then you can see a flash, and that's followed shortly afterwards by a big fireball. Our verification teams have looked at these images and can tell from the roofs and from other skyline details illuminated by the flames that it was in the main courtyard of the hospital. Next, they've been looking at daylight images taken this morning. Here you can see quite a lot of fire damage to the cars, but most of the buildings surrounding it are still mostly intact and standing, and there's actually a relatively small crater. Now, we've shown these images to a number of weapons experts, and while they couldn't come to a firm conclusion, several of them told us that if the explosion had been caused by the type of bomb normally used by Israeli forces, the crater would have been bigger and there would have been more damage to the buildings. One way of trying to establish what hit this hospital is by studying bomb or missile fragments at the scene, but our team on the ground and the team here haven't seen any. Now, look at this image we found from last night of two men searching through the crater we showed you earlier. The logo on their vests is from the Palestinian police, from the Explosive Ordnance Department. We don't know what, if anything, they recovered. The Islamic Jihad movement put out a statement today saying the explosion was caused by Israeli aerial bombing and claiming that they have the remnants of the explosive head, but they haven't yet provided any evidence of this. What's not in dispute is that there were a very large number of casualties, according to Palestinian officials. Mostly, we think, of people who've been sheltering in the hospital from Israeli airstrikes, sleeping on the grass here. To establish the exact truth of what caused them, you'd need an independent investigation, but that's not going to happen in what is an active war zone.
So there you go. I wouldn't say they're hedging their bets, but they were. This is what it looks like. I mean, I'm not holding out hope for one side to be right and the other side to be wrong, or vice versa. I think, as we've said before, I think those at the top who are causing this conflict are as bad, if not worse, than one another. But I guess I think, what if there's other crater holes elsewhere that they weren't shown in the photos? What if there's other things? I don't know. But BBC have done their analysis. Others have as well, and they come to a conclusion that if they were based on the balance of probability, it might be looking more likely that it's on the Palestinian side than the Israeli side. And I was going to just ask you, Chewy, because you know more about armed conflict than I do. You caused more of it. Is an aerial bombing means literally from a plane? That's what they said, it was from aerial bombing. Yeah. So there doesn't appear to be much damage to a courtyard if it's a missile launched from a plane.
Yeah, and that was one of the things, the video that I was talking about earlier from Ryan Macbeth. He went into that as well. Israel has complete air superiority over Gaza. It has absolutely no problem flying fighter jets over there and dropping 1,000-pound GPS or laser guided bombs. If they wanted to put a bomb into a hospital, they probably just would. And it would demolish the whole building rather than blow up all the cars in the car park and not leave much of a crater. Yeah. That's not to say just to specify. It doesn't mean that one side is right and the other is wrong. I've said right from the get-go, both sides in this are shitty and they're both doing really shitty things. And the only constant is that there are civilians getting fucked right in the middle.
Yep. And reports are that 3 out of 4 Israelis are shitty about this as well. They don't want to have a bar of it as well. So I know rightfully so we're focusing on the human disasters that are happening within Gaza. But when Hamas retaliates and stuff, there are people over in Israel who want nothing to do with this either, who are also a part of it. I mean, we can reference the music festival again. You know, I'm not saying like for like. I'm just saying citizens everywhere. You know, at one stage last night, I could see that Marilyn was choking back tears because she was talking about waking up every morning, checking her phone to see if anyone of her friends in Gaza has died overnight. So, you know, they're real people. And when you look at those buildings going down and you think, what, 50, 100, 200, 400 people in there? It's just terrible. It's terrible all the way around. All right. So listen, we are going to open up Discord in about probably 10 minutes. If you'd like to be involved, you can get over there. And I can see if you can hear me, Lost Soul, you are in the live stream chat, chillaxing. If you want to talk to us, you need to jump into the waiting room, which is one down from where you are. If you want to come and have a chat with us, we're going to do a couple more stories. You don't have to rush. You're welcome to. If you want to talk about this, hear your views on this, more than happy to take your thoughts around this as well. It's obviously the biggest news story in the world at the moment. I've got 2 more stories I want to talk about. One is incredibly quick. It's pretty for a bit of a giggle, really for you, Chewy, more than anything else. Did you hear about Liz Gunn was in court today?
Is she wearing a sling this time?
Liz Gunn was in court today, charged with, no, I'm just going to say assault. I don't want to be inaccurate. But it says Gunn requested further security footage to be released from the incident at the airport, which led to her being charged with assault, trespass, and resisting arrest. So I'm assuming those are the charges that she's in court for. But
what's hilarious about this is that she has been wearing a sling on and off since this happened. And I mean that on or off. Sometimes she's not wearing it at all, doesn't need it. Other times she's in a full sling. It depends on what she wants to talk about.
Well, she does have a brace on there. She's obviously still got something going on with her arm. So, but here's a little bit of footage for you of her outside. I don't know. Maybe it's just, it's confirmation bias. But when she asks for someone's name, it just feels a little pointed. I don't know why it would be. Maybe it's just me. Tell me what you think.
How are you pleading for the charges today? How am I going to plead? Completely innocent. What's your name?
Finn.
Finn. Okay. I remember you from Radio New Zealand. Yeah, completely innocent. I was standing at an airport to greet friends with a camera, like hundreds of other people there. We just had a slightly larger camera because we wanted really quality footage.
That's all that Herald put up. And I mean, like, I don't think she's being charged with because she was standing there with the camera. I think the charges have come from her reaction afterwards, which involved a scuffle, which led to an assault and resisting arrest. So I think that even if you get told by a police officer to move along, you can challenge that in court, right? And that's fine. But if you then resist arrest during that and you cause a scuffle, that's actually secondary to the other reason. Like, you notice none of the charges here talk about why she was there at the airport with the camera. It's assault, trespass, and resisting arrest. So that's likely meaning that there was a scuffle. They told her to leave and she didn't. And then she wouldn't let them put her handcuffs on. Just a little note to everybody, if you ever have an opportunity to be put in handcuffs, just let them do it. Because if you're in the right, it'll come out in court, hopefully, fingers crossed. But certainly you don't want a resisting arrest slapped on there as well. Speaking outside the court, the New Zealand Loyal Party leader clarified her comments that recently made headlines where she predicted her New Zealand Loyal Party would win 2 million votes in the election. The 2 million votes comment was tongue-in-cheek, she said. She described it as a wry way of explaining her aspirations for the party and said she was visualizing a dream so it could become truth. In the context of the meeting, everybody laughed.
Have you seen that footage, Pat?
I think I saw it on
Kelvin's.
I think I saw it on Kelvin's feed.
No one was laughing, and she was almost in tears of ecstasy recounting it. What a nut bar.
Can I say a huge thanks to Fiona and to Malcolm and to Andy and also to... I think there was one more that was just before we started.
Lots of bottom feeders tonight.
Yeah, lots of bottom feeders tonight who have got involved and are a part of our merch drop this week. Remember, if you want to be involved tonight, there's a special that'll give you 10% off. It's only until 10:30 p.m. bhnshop.nz, and at the checkout, use the promo code TREATY, which relates to our next story. Bottom feeder merch up for grabs, as well as our standard BHM, which I'm actually wearing again tonight. Got the white one on. I've got that one there in white on tonight. So if you listen to this in audio podcast, the special won't apply to you unless we finish early and you get in there. But an opportunity for the night, 10% off whatever you buy from the bhnshop.nz store. Chewy,
yes.
New Zealand has been asked if they want a referendum on the treaty. Let's have a listen and a look as to what New Zealand
Who's
has
asked
to say
that
about
so I
that.
can slap them?
News Hub. You want to slap them?
God damn it.
Back home now, and as we all wait for the special votes to be counted to confirm the final election result, parties are staying tight-lipped about government negotiations.
One major issue is whether National will accommodate ACT's bottom line of a referendum on the Treaty of Waitangi. As political editor Jenna Lynch reports, our own poll shows it's not a popular option.
The Christopher craze is taking off. At least at Cockle Bay Primary School.
Very special school because I went to the school for 4 years.
Christopher Luxon chose his old stomping ground as stop one on his victory lap. His big blue thank you to New Zealand.
Oh, here we are in the house. Thank you so much.
As we wait in limbo land.
We are using that time to build relationship and also to progress the arrangements with respective parties.
Keeping up.
I got to say, actually, fair enough to Christopher Luxon. He doesn't want to debate all the negotiations in front of the camera. And I think that's frustrating for the media because that's how they get their headlines. But I kind of think, fair enough, if that's how you want to do it, all behind the scenes and just make an announcement, good on you. You know, go for it. Do it that way. See how it works out. I don't think he'll be quite as easy keeping old Winston and David Seymour quiet. But if that's the way he wants to play it, I saw him with Ryan Bridge earlier in the week, basically saying Luxon was actually apologetic. Going, look, I'm sorry. I know that this is not going to be interesting for you guys, but we're just not going to talk about it in public until it's done. And I'm like, fair enough. If that's the way you want to do it. Fair enough.
Yeah, I get it. Even I can't bag on him for that. Like, why would you negotiate in public? It's dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get into it.
Right, we'll get to the story and we'll find out what New Zealand said about a treaty referendum.
Don't disappoint me again, New Zealand.
Negotiations.
We won't be talking about that because essentially we want to be able to do that in goodwill and build good faith and good strong relationships so we deliver strong and stable government.
What's up for negotiation is not up for conversation.
We've had very productive processes that have allowed us to get closer to the result that New Zealanders want, and that is a stable, united government.
Yeah. 9%. Just, I mean, you've won yourself a way through, but the result that New Zealanders want, 9. Just remember, 9%. Fourth sized party in New Zealand, 9%. Just, I don't know how much you can speak on behalf of New Zealanders there, Mr. Seymour.
ACT leader David Seymour has a policy to rewrite the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi and put it to a referendum. He's made it a top policy priority for forming a government. Christopher Luxon has called the idea divisive.
The discussion's not divisive, the current policy direction is divisive, and the way to heal that division is open, honest discussion.
We asked in our latest
Open the
research
wound.
poll, do you think New Zealand should have a referendum on the treaty? A majority, 55.8%, said no.
Good.
While just
So there you go. I mean, that's actually a pretty good place to maybe leave this conversation. Who really cares about the rest of it? I mean, with respect to News Hub's polls, they didn't do a very good job on the political one of being accurate, but that's a pretty big margin of error. That 1/3 of New Zealanders think that we should have one, and the rest either don't know or don't want one. So if there was one, as long as people participated, I don't know if it would get particularly much traction, which was sort of my thoughts anyway, because I can't imagine many, like, obviously the older you go within New Zealand population, the more likely it is for someone to want this because they don't get it or don't want to get it, and the younger, the less likely. Doesn't mean that people under 30 are all going to say that they don't want one, but you'd have a sliding scale, like of the older people are, the more likely they'd have it, the younger, and that would cross over, wouldn't it, on the way, or would it be the other way? Whichever way it is, it'd cross over. And probably Gen X would be the ones in the middle that'd be 50-50. And remember, this was the first election, and this is another reason that the results were interesting, that boomers were not the majority voting bloc. They were actually a minority voting bloc, but didn't seem to matter because they participated. But anyway, so there you go. Only a third of New Zealanders have said that they'd be up for a treaty referendum. What are your thoughts, Joey?
First thought is I cast my mind back to a Women's Day or a Women's Weekly article that David Seymour gave, where he said that he would give it all up for love. I know we've got a few ladies in the chat. One of you jump on that grenade. Take him out of the game.
To take one for the team. Take one for the team of 5 million.
Just,
I will do
at least you know he can twerk.
For love, but I won't do that. That'll be the song. Won't
I
won't do that.
Or dudes. I don't know. I don't know.
Know
Somebody.
See more.
But look, I think the very act of putting something like the Treaty of Waitangi up for a referendum would be a horrifically bad idea.
Yep.
Horrifically bad.
And no matter how they spell it, the principle, it's not the treaty, it's the principles of, well, that's because what you're saying is the way it's currently being interpreted is wrong. And the principles meaning you want to get it interpreted a different way, which would basically make it null and void. So it's not the treaty. We just want to change the principles to make it null and void. That's what we want to do. So yes, it's about the treaty.
It's fiddling, like I said the other night, it's just him weaseling around the edges. It's just so weaselly.
Are you sure did you nail that one down? It's just weaseling around the edges. It's just so
like a weaselly weasel doing like weasel things.
Weaselly weasel. I'm
Yep.
just having a look at my Discord settings while I'm talking to you, because I tell you what, let's open it up. Let's see if people want to come and have a chat with us. Discord is open. I should probably do a little link in the chat in case people haven't seen what it is. There it is. Look, copy that. Everyone's watching what I'm doing. This is a bit weird, isn't it? Go back to the live call in. If you want to be involved in Discord, if you want to come and have a chat with us, we'll take 1 call, 2 call, 5 calls, whatever. DISCORD in the chat, boom, and the link, boom. There you go. It's going everywhere. And what you need to do is come down here. You can see where Lost Soul is and Planner Walker. They're in the waiting room. Just put yourself in the waiting room, and if we see you in the waiting room, we'll pick you up.
Is Planner still working on their hangover?
I think Planner's still probably trying to get over the hangover.
The old 5-day hangover.
Lost Soul's been with us for quite a long time, so we're going to go to Lost Soul first. So Planner Walker, if you can handle another few minutes, if you're not, he drank so much on that night, he's probably still drunk. If you can, without falling out of your chair, Planner Walker will be with you in a minute. So there you go. Whatever the Discord address is now in the chat. If you want to come across, jump in the waiting room, and you can really talk about anything. Election that's been, the week that's been, Israeli Gaza situation, and we'll hang around for 10, 20, 30 minutes, depending on how much you want to have a chat with us. We'll try this out and see if it's working, shall we? Oh, that's right, I did it wrong. There, I got to drag you down here, Lost Soul. There we go. You're with us, Lost Soul.
Good evening, lads. How's it going?
Yeah, going all right here. You right there, Chewy? You want to say good day? Make sure everyone can hear you.
Hello, buddy.
How's it going?
Good.
It has been... I want to talk about the treaty because I had a family dinner the other night, and turns out a bunch of my family switched. They are all the people that switched over from Labour to National Act, and they are all anti-treaty, which kind of blew me away.
Damn it.
I was like, what is this?
Wow.
So I had to sit there and actively fact check at the dinner table. Stuff like there's 3 different documents that all say different things.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's 2 different documents, one English, one Te Reo. And yeah, there's a couple words that people disagree on. And stuff like $20 billion a year we're spending on the treaty. And it's like a total amount of 3.7 billion. And superannuation is 14 billion per year. So I was like, you guys are like, oh, all the tax money we're spending on this. And I'm like, what do you even vote for? You don't even know what you voted for.
My understanding, Lost Soul, is also now, to be honest, I worked in the media quite a long time ago, so it might have changed. But when I was working in the media, all of the money that was being spent on the treaty, including the settlements and stuff, had already been costed and set aside. So it wasn't new money every single year. I won't be as arrogant and say that's still the case now. I'm not 100% sure, but certainly 10 years ago, people were talking about, this settlement or that settlement. It was like, it was all been put aside 10 years ago and it was still happening. So actually, it wasn't that big of a deal to the economy either.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, a whole portion of my family switched on their fundamental beliefs because I went through that list of like everything National wants to cut. And I'm like, I know all of you disagree with most of the stuff here, but you all switched over the treaty. That's the issue. And you don't even seem to understand the issue for real. Like, that's the problem.
And is that what it was? It was the issues around the treaty that is what took them across? Because we've been saying
Treaty
here for
and race.
Well, we've been saying here for a while, Sol, and maybe you can correct us then, that we don't think the swing vote would really go from Labor to National. That's more likely to go from National to ACT or Labor to the Greens. But you're saying in your family there were Labor voters that went to National, and it was about race issues and it was about the treaty. Is that really the only thing? Is it much to do with COVID? Have you got any of those anti-vaxxers floating around?
No, they all took the vaccine and were down with the lockdowns. They're all staunch Jacinda supporters.
Wow.
And this is what's like blowing my mind that they voted for like David Seymour and National. Like, I was like, what's going on? I wish people had talked to me before the election so that way I could have like been like, hey, you're wrong about that. Hey, you're wrong about that. The other one I got is there's no white, air quotes, white people on the Waitangi Tribunal board. And so I got to sit there and pull out pictures of people and be like, this lady who's white, this guy who's white, look, there's a white person. It was just, it's so mind blowing. Like, and the other one, the medical ethnicity, they're all pissy about that.
No, you have to explain that to me. The medical ethnicity, what do you mean?
Oh, that within the medical board is going to take ethnicity into consideration
Oh,
as
right.
one of multiple factors that they will now be taking into consideration. So that way they can get better outcomes for Māori and Pacific Islanders. And they're all of the one country, one set of rules, one set of standards to judge everybody by. And I'm like, I didn't realize that this is the way it's going to go.
And one ring to rule them all. Hey, that's the way to go in New Zealand.
In the darkness bind them. And now all I see is Luxon having his head sucked. That's all
You're
I
welcome.
see now.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I knew that was gonna stay in people's minds for a bit.
I got one more question for you, Lost Soul. How did they get? I mean, I want to say kind of racialized. I don't know what the word is. How did they get dragged into that cult? What was it? Radicalized. How did they get radicalized in that way?
Well, I'm not sure. This is the part that blows me away because I come from my mum was a hippie for many years. I grew up on an eco community up on the side of Mount Taranaki. Like, I had a pretty far left upbringing. And for her to swing all this way has just totally blown my mind. But she says it's equality because, no one should be judged on the color of their skin. It's that same thing that David Seymour keeps going on about, like equality for everyone. Because,
which sounds great.
Judging people off ethnicity is racist. But, sometimes ethnicity needs to be taken in as a factor.
So if that conversation comes up again, are any of the people you're having this conversation with getting a pension?
Yes.
Okay. So if it comes up again, just say to them, okay, so you're going to give up your pension because that's discrimination based on age. Because if you want if you want everyone to be treated the same, then over 65 shouldn't be able to get a privilege that under 65 should. Right? Just ask them that question, watch their head explode, and then say it's different. That'll be the answer. But
I already had people's head exploding and people yelling at me that I'm narrow-minded and I don't see the big picture and I don't understand what's going on.
Okay,
right,
this is what you need to do. This is how you fix it. Go round to their house, unplug their internet, change their Facebook password.
Yeah, yes. Delete Facebook.
I have no social media. Discord is all I use.
Oh, damn.
Good man.
Old people in Facebook, man, they just take it hook, line, and sinker every time.
All right. Hey, Lostov,
Every time.
thanks for calling in. I still don't know what to say about Discord, but
Yeah,
thanks for
calling in.
calling in. All right, thanks for calling in, dude. We appreciate you. And we'll go over a chat with Planar Walk as well, shall we? Because Planar Walk's there. Hello, Planar Walk. Are we going to get a camera tonight?
Ahoy, hoy.
Ahoy,
Yes,
hoy.
you are. Give me like 1 second.
See, this is when you're working with.
there we
I'm
go.
glad to,
when you're working with
I'm
professionals.
glad to see that you're still alive after election night. I had my doubts.
I mean, I could always drink the rest of this.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I mean, I will probably drink the rest of this like on my birthday or something like that.
Very good. Tell us things. Why are you giving us a tingle tonight?
I thought I'd hop on. You're talking a bit about the treaty, a bit about Liz Gunn. I'm trying to remember the bit about Liz Gunn that I wanted to comment on, actually.
That she's a lunatic?
Yes, it's wild. I can't actually remember the exact thing that I want to say about Liz Gunn.
There's so much. There's so much to pick from.
But I did want to say about the treaty referendum. I think that's a terrible idea, as do probably most people. And the reason being is because you know what happened with Brexit?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a similar thing might happen with that, where a lot of people will say that they don't want the treaty, and then the treaty referendum, and then there'll be a lot of people that would be like, well, no one's going to see me vote, so they'll vote against it, which I think is unfortunate.
Yeah, no, it's a possibility. Or even if that doesn't happen, the people who want to vote in the shadows, if a whole bunch of the people who are on the left and maybe more would not like to see it, then don't get out and participate, that's also a real danger.
Oh yeah, that is what I was thinking as well, because you saw what happened with the referendum over in Australia.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, apparently there are some people that didn't vote in that referendum because they're like, because they're saying, I'm not Indigenous, so it's not really my place to say, and therefore the people that were voting against it, who didn't care whether they were Indigenous or not, they had their voices heard, and yeah. It was a shit show.
Yeah, man. What else is going on? How did you feel on Sunday morning? Did you have to crawl out of the bottle for very long? Did you recover all right? Did you bounce back?
I did end up throwing up, but I had enough water to not get a headache. So that was something that I thought was lucky. Is that the way to put it?
Yeah. Very good. Rehydrate, that's the way to do it. All right. Anything else for tonight?
I do apologize if I'm not as entertaining as I was on Saturday.
You were a little ray of sunshine for a lot of people in a night that they found quite dark. So thank you.
Yeah.
Aww.
Here's something that I did want to say, actually.
Sure.
Because I think that the next 3 years is going to be quite useful, or is going to be good for BHN. The reason being is because, if we had a Labour government for the next 3 years, what would there be to report on? The occasional interesting news story, but with National Act and New Zealand First, you're going to have, it seems like you're just going to have unlimited content.
Yeah, maybe, as long as they start talking. At the moment, they're being very quiet. So we just need to start talking.
Depressing content.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Hey, thank you for calling in, Discording in,
videoing in.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
There's Planar Walk. So if you are wanting to jump on, we'll hang around for another 10 minutes or so. You just need to get yourself into Discord and then come down here to the waiting room, and we'll try and take you in the order that you've come in. It looks like Romanus. It makes me think of the Life of Brian. Life of Brian, Phil? Romanus, Romani. So Romanus, if you just turn your mic on, we're happy to have a chat with you as well. Are you there, Romanus?
Yeah, g'day, mate.
G'day, mate. Is it from the Life of Brian? Tell me it's from the Life of Brian.
not that time, but it will be in the future.
Okay, very good. What's up?
Yeah, right. Well, I've not been a viewer for too long, but I appreciate what you guys do and your great arguments that you have.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, I find them quite interesting. So I lifted a couple just in a conversation with my father about like your argument around the discrimination sort of thing with superannuation.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
yes.
I felt it, quite a compelling point, really.
Well, the thing is, we do accept discrimination. This is the whole point. It's called positive discrimination. And there's discrimination everywhere. The voting age is discrimination. That's actually been ruled by the high courts. So people who want to level the playing field and make it even for everything, I know this is a silly thing I'm about to say, but 10-year-olds should be able to vote under that idea. Because that's a discrimination, but it's that may not be a positive one, but it's a discrimination that society accepts. The retirement age, those sorts of things. The retirement age is a positive discrimination. People always talk about Māori getting into medical school being a discrimination. They always rally against it, but they never actually bring up that there's actually placements in medical school for rural students as well. So if you're rural, RURAL, living in a farm, you can more easily get into medical school than if you're in a city. There are spaces kept for rural kids. They never talk about that. But if you're going to get rid of one, you should get rid of all of it. So it's just...
Yeah, well, one of my mates is a med student as well, so he talked about that too.
Yeah, so it's not... I like honest conversation. And if you're not going to be honest, then we can't have a conversation. If you're not going to be logical, then we can't have a debate. If you want to have a flat playing field for everyone, if you flatten the curve, level field, then it's got to be in every protected class, not just race. Simple.
Yeah, and I kind of feel a bit stupid for being sucked in by the whole act sort of malarkey. But bear in mind, I was only 15 in the last election, so it's probably the whole, a lot of people my generation have sort of swung to the right a little bit, I've seen.
Yep.
A lot of my friends are like quite conservative and even like opposed to abortion. I'm like, what? Like, even the right-wing parties don't even go there, it's kind of, it's a bit strange.
Look, I'm not surprised by that. It's exactly what happens through generations, because what you do is you rebel against your parents, and that's why through the 80s and stuff, all the love children of the 60s were getting conservative kids, because it was rebelling against the hippie parents they had from the 60s. And this is probably happening now. The last 20 years has probably been a generation of, freedom this, gender that, smoke this, inject that, and the kids are going to rebel against whatever their parents are into, because that's what kids do. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. And I'm probably going to watch this whole treaty referendum possibility quite closely, because I'm a law student, so I'm a bit of a nerd, as far as that's concerned. So I'm only in my first year of studies, but I've even picked up stuff that would make me more critical of like policy and that sort of stuff too. Which I wouldn't have otherwise. It's an interesting act to want to get rid of like the whole fees-free thing as well. It's like, well, what's the ulterior motive here? You're sort of trying to discourage a higher level education so your policies aren't scrutinized, or
maybe
they might be reaching a bit, but
maybe
I would say that they don't want poor people coming through, because poor people are usually empathetic to that situation, right? And they're more leaning to the left. So if they can't get into law or medicine or that sort of thing, so much the better.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks for calling in, Romanus.
Yeah, that's right.
Appreciate your thoughts, man. And stay in contact anytime, especially if you're delving into the law. Just because you're a student, you probably on day one you already know more than we do. Actually, be good to have you hanging around. Couple more, can we? Let's do a couple more. Aiden's there. G'day, Aiden. You need to turn your mic on, I think, but we're good to go. Hello, mate. How are you?
Hey, Pat. Good things. How are yourself?
Yeah, good, brother. What's going on?
Hey, I know there's a lot of people talking about it tonight. But if I didn't bring it up too, I would not let myself, I let myself down. The treaty. So I wasn't really too familiar myself before these elections, and right before voting week, I came across this neat little YouTube series.
Yeah.
Now it's about 3 or 4 years old now. But the fun fact about history is it doesn't really change.
Yeah.
So this YouTube series is the Aotearoa History Show.
Oh, yes, I know.
And it was funded, I believe, through New Zealand On Air. It is a RNZ
In
funded
1857.
show. It's really good. So there's a long history, and then it comes up to, it even helped fill me in with Ruthonomics. I keep hearing about it here.
Oh, Ruthonomics,
and
yeah.
Yeah, through that I learned about what that shit show was. Yes, it's really digestible. Less than 15-minute episodes.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. Hey, look. Thanks for that tip. I didn't know too much about it, but I'm looking at it right now. The Aotearoa History Show is the direct URL for YouTube, and it looks like season 1 are about 15-minute episodes, like you say. Season 2 looks like they're more like 20 to 30-minute episodes. Musket Wars,
They're really excellent.
New Zealand Railway, Number 8
vouch for
Wire, Suffragettes are in there. So yeah, it's a good research, a good resource.
Yes, it
Aidan.
goes over lots of the Māori concepts, like so that they weren't really centralized government organized. They were more so, you had like, I can't remember the verbiage off the top of my head, but my understanding is, so you've got the whānau, the family.
Yep.
Then you've got like the tribe, and then iwi, which is like groups of tribes, I believe, and they're fairly all self-governing. So the system kind of hit the fan when white people came over and were like, we're just going to centralize all the shit and do a completely different thing now. So
That's a really good. That's a really good resource, Aidan. Thanks for that. We're going to move on because we've got one other person to talk to before we finish for the night.
Okay, sorry. Can I just one more quick thing?
Yeah, of course.
I went to visit my grandmother the other day, and we got into a little discussion about this. Long story short, I came up with an analogy that I thought was fairly good.
All right.
It's around the Māori Health Authority.
Yep.
I said it's more akin to Māori having their own house and, deciding the rules for those within their house. It's not a divisive, they're gonna take over the system. It's like these two neighboring houses under one big governing body that is New Zealand health system,
Yeah. No, that's
we can all each look after our own.
Yeah. No, look, I think that's a pretty good analogy there, Aidan. We're going to move on. Thank you for that. Appreciate your thoughts very much. The funniest thing about the Māori Health Authority I always find, Chewy, is Luxon's talking about he wants to have a health providers by Māori for Māori, and every time he gets stopped, but that's the Māori Health Authority. No, but we want it to be localised. giving money to Māori for Māori health. What, you mean like the Māori Health Authority? No. And every time he got challenged on it, basically what he was saying is exactly what the Māori Health Authority was. But for some reason, he thinks if it's an Otago-based or a Southland-based or an Auckland-based one, it makes sense. If it comes out of Wellington, all of a sudden, evil, bad.
Yeah, he seems like it was really clear in that interview. He seemed to think it was spinning up an entire, like a facsimile of the health department, but just for Māori.
Yeah.
Which wasn't it at all. It was
Bizarre.
exactly what he was describing.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we're going to take one more call, and that's from Kat. Kat, you want to turn your mic on, and you are with us, and we can say, hello, Kat. Need to turn your mic on, Kat. Need to turn your mic on, Kat. I was thinking, we've had a really good night on Discord.
Hey,
Oh, there we go. You're back. You're
There
here.
we go. Yay.
I was about to say,
hear me?
I can. I was about to say, Kat, we have to have one failure, one that doesn't work through the night, but then you pulled it back. We're with you. What's up?
Yeah, sorry, I was seeing if I can even turn on my camera.
Oh,
Okay. Discord wants access to the camera.
there we
Here
go. Hey.
Hello. Nice to see you. I'm a bit of a lurker. I've been lurking for a time, occasionally comment, but thought I'd have a go at this Discord thing tonight.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I just want to, throw in a couple of cents about this talk about a referendum on treaty principles and things. And it really scares me because the problem is that so many people in this country have no real appreciation for the history behind, where we are now and what, the treaty was about in the first place and everything that's happened to transgress it and why the Waitangi Tribunal was created in the first place. And, to have a referendum, people need to be informed. And I just don't see that happening. Like, people have this ridiculous idea about, Māori being privileged, basically. And privileged from day one. There's a long history of this idea that Māori have always been privileged. They are privileged to be colonised by us, sort of thing. But really, when you look at it, Māori have been excluded from decision-making pretty much since the signing of the treaty. They were excluded from Parliament. You could only vote if you were a landowner, which of course excluded a lot of ordinary settlers and things. But then when the Māori seats were introduced, that was restricting Māori to voting in one of 4 electorates. So they could only have a say over 4, seats in the Parliament. Whereas settlers, were represented by many seats. And so Māori had no voice in Parliament to contribute to the laws that many of which were specifically designed to alienate Māori from their land. And so, people like David Seymour just seem to ignore all of this. And you've said it before, he wants to start, just right now, where now is the starting line. And as you said before, that, Māori aren't even on the same, playing field because of all the stuff that's gone on in the past. So, yeah, I'm really terrified at the thought of going ahead with something like this when, most people, if they really understood what had gone on in the past, wouldn't entertain this for a second. Or they would give the Waitangi Tribunal more power or make the principles even fairer to Māori than what they already are, if that's possible.
I think the other thing, the other thing for people to know about, if they don't know it already, is when the Māori seats came up, as you're saying, that was for Māori to vote in, and basically Māori had a massive majority. The numbers were huge. So if they had been on a general roll, it would have been there would have been Māori parliaments from day one. So basically, it was used as a way to kind of oppress the Māori vote and give them tokenage. And now the people, the same people who are kind of complaining about it, going, "Oh, it's not fair. We've got to get rid of it." Obviously, either don't know the history that actually you can't put people into an area where we're going to disadvantage you by giving you that, and then when it doesn't turn out to be quote unquote the oppressor's advantage, go, "Oh, we're going to take it away from you now because you are getting an advantage or a perceived advantage from it." So, yeah, it's utterly ludicrous. I think there's lots of people in the chat saying that you're agreeing with you wholeheartedly. I think both. I'm kind of on the fence, meaning I am both concerned about it, thinking that what it will do to the Discord, pardon the pun, of the nature of the conversations that will be in society if that does happen. You know, Uncle Bob's just got over rallying about the fucking mandates, and he'll have a new thing to rally about on Facebook for the next 12 months. But I'm also, the reason why I'm on the fence is I also feel slightly confident that, assuming we don't get slack about it, that New Zealanders aren't going to put up for it. I mean, we've just seen that research from News Hub tonight, and look, I'm not saying the polls are all the answers. I don't have much of a fear that it will change anything. I actually think, all in all, people on the left are pretty on board with the treaty, and enough people on the right are, you know, I'll be dismissive, are okay with it.
Or at least ambivalent, yeah.
Ambivalent to it, that they're not going to be able to get a massive turnout from it unless we don't participate. This does bring us back to a conversation around about binding referendum. A referendum is, you know, in the Scandinavian countries, I think they have to get 2/3 of a majority to put anything into law from a binding referendum. I don't like binding referendums in general. I think that just means mob rule, and sometimes doing what the minority wants is still the right thing to do. But if they had some criteria, like the criteria I used to always talk about was, first of all, 75% of the population have to participate in the referendum. And from those, they have to get a 75% majority to turn it into a law, as it's written in a referendum. But look, there's never been one. Every referendum that's gone through has been ignored. And it might just be lip service from the right for the election to get themselves elected. And even though it might bubble away for a while, it equally might just disappear because Winston doesn't give a fuck. He's in. He's only about Winston, and he's there. What do you think, Chewy? I've talked too much as well.
Yeah, look, I can't see it happening for one reason, is Luxon, for all of his faults, must clearly see that this would be a massive mistake. He wants to be seen as the everyman guy in the middle, and kicking off a race war is probably not the best way to do that. Like, he get criticised left and right. Like, a referendum is a massive spend. We saw that with the flag referendum, and then nothing happens, and you go, well, you just spent $53 million for nothing. You guys were talking about tightening our belts and shit like that. Like, it'll come down to a practicality.
I don't know, we got Laser Kiwi out of that.
That's true.
Did get Laser Kiwi.
We did get Laser Kiwi, who will stay with us forevermore.
And I think, like, for all of their anti-Māori policies, like taking the names off government departments and fighting Māori names on road signs and stuff like that, that's all small fry stuff. Like, completely reframing the principles of the treaty, that is something completely different.
Yeah.
And I said it before and I said it again, it'll have people on the streets. So he'll see that. Surely.
Yeah. All right, Kat, anything else to wrap us up? It's been a great call. Thanks.
Oh, no worries. No. I mean, I just read it. You know, I agree with you. I do think it's unlikely, and I was really, really encouraged to see the results of that poll tonight. That most people hopefully agree. So hopefully it'll just fade away and die, and David Seymour with it. But that might be too much to stress.
Do you want David Seymour to fade away and die? Is that what you're saying? I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can endorse that.
No, he's a lovely man. Anyway. Probably time for me to call it quits before I incriminate myself.
I think the legal term is, I don't wish him any specific harm.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Okay. Thanks
Kat.
guys.
Appreciate you calling in.
Cheers, Kat.
That was cool. Tell you what, I do miss talkback. I know that people sometimes go, how the hell did you work for ZB? But there's something about it, man. It gets my juices going. I love it. I love it like nothing else. All right, guys. A big thanks to Brendan and to Natalie. It looks like you got some merch. That promo code is available for another 7 minutes, but no more. And that is bhnshop.nz. And use the promo code Treaty after that conversation. How appropriate. 7 minutes to get 10% discount if you want to get anything for that merch store. We've got that topical stuff this month, which is Bottom Feeder. And also our normal merch is up and operational there as well. And you can get yourself a bit cheaper tonight if you want to. Anything else, Chewy? I haven't been paying much attention to the chat because I've been pushing all the buttons and stuff. But is there anything you want to get to or mention or get in or get off or anything at all?
I think I got one comment that I want to highlight from earlier in the show. Social media is a rot on society, particularly the major group of people that run on broad strokes rather than details. This kind of dovetails into what I was saying about, like, for us, the election was all about policies and seeing what was workable and seeing how things would go in with each other. For a lot of people, it's not. It is broad strokes. It is feelings.
Bumper
And
stickers.
that's really hard for someone like people like us to combat, right? You end up walking into a dinner party with relatives and they just say some out the gate fucking thing, and you go, hang on, I'm blood with you? What the hell? Where are you getting this from? And I think it is social media.
Yeah.
It's a great tool, but every time I jump on Facebook, I see how many channels of misinformation there can be, and it can be from everything from your local suburban community page to straight up channels feeding disinformation about fucking ancient aliens and stuff, and they'll keep on coming. And it's just, I think one of the things people laugh about, like media studies in school and that sort of thing, but that can be a real key part of critical thinking that I think the older generation, they don't have. When you look at how they got their news and information, it was from legitimate newspapers and it was from the television and radio news, and they were unimpeachable. You heard from them, you heard opinion from them. You didn't hear opinion from fucking everybody with the most cooked out the gate, I believe in the God is the moon. Those sort of people. But now you can, and now you can find a whole group of people that believe that God is the moon, and we die when the sun comes up. Just stuff like that. But because it's written down and because it's got a flashy video on it, now I believe it. That is something that is. I don't think there's a way to solve it apart from cutting the internet connections of everybody over the age of 60.
All right. Most important thing to do before we go, you need to pick me a shape. You ready? I'm going to give you 5 possibilities. I'm going to read these shapes out randomly. I've associated a shape to our call-ins. Square, triangle, hexagon. That's 6-sided, eh? Hexagon, like a noughts and crosses symbol, or circle. Which do you pick?
Oh, circle.
Circle is lost soul. So up the very top there, that was our first call. Circle.
Nice.
Circle. See, I put them all beside people. So lost soul, you've just got yourself a $50 credit to the store. I think Lost Soul said only uses Discord. Am I right with that call? That's what Lost Soul said. Either way, send us a message, and if you get me the message before 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, telling us what you can have a T-shirt, or you can have $50 off a hoodie. You can do whichever one you want, but we'll just have to have a conversation around that, Lost Soul, and that's just for participating on the old Discord tonight, which was great fun. Thank you so much for being a part of it, and it all worked, Chewy. So let's say a big thanks to Jason as well, who came around and sorted it all out for us. Yay, Jason! All right, team, that's us. Now, Monday is a public holiday. We are not going to be here. We are going to be celebrating Labour. What did we get taught at school? That the original Labour Day chant was something like 8 hours work, 8 hours sleep, 8 hours play, and 8 bob a day. That was the original sort of chant when people were looking for a rise. 8 hours work.
8 hours work, 8 hours
sleep,
rest and sleep, and 8 hours for what you will.
Yeah,
is
8
the
hours
one that I
play
know.
and 8 bob a day. So
can I just show you if this is going to work?
We can tangent. We're 60 seconds away from going 90 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to show you the very nice thing that my boss put up.
Yeah.
On our roster. Now, you have to tilt your head, but I'll read it for you. The day we celebrate the working class by paying those who work this day what they are actually worth.
Oh. So does that mean you've got The day off or time and a half? Oh, Chewy's gone. What a beautiful connection. So thank you for being with us tonight. Chewy's just cut out on us.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back.
Did you read it?
Yeah, but is he saying that you're getting paid more for working Monday or you've got Monday off?
No, we're working Monday. He's saying that if you work that day, you're paid what you're actually worth rather than what we're normally paid, which I thought was really nice.
Yeah, why don't you just pay us what we're worth, boss? It is nice, but you can just pay us what we're worth as well. That was very funny. I was about to say we need to pay someone to come and do some work on your computer on Labor Day, maybe.
I'm working on it. Apparently, there's a weird thing to do with Bluetooth in my hard drive, so I'm cracking down on it.
All right. Yep. Thank you very much, Paul. 100 likes. All Blacks win. Yeah, I think the All Blacks will win this weekend. I hope against Argentina. Chewy will definitely be concerned about that. And then dog walk out at the beach Saturday afternoon, and then sleeping most of Sunday and sleeping most of Monday. Going to try and catch up on my sleep that I didn't get during the election cycle. I can fit it all in this weekend. All right, team. I know what you know. What I'll do. What I'll end up doing is I will end up spending most of the weekend working on our podcast award entry. That's what I'll end up doing. I bet you.
Oh yes. Now there's a People's Choice Award, isn't there, Pat?
There is, but we don't get to tell them about that till the 28th of the month. So
okay, keep that secret, chat. I didn't tell you.
In about 10 days' time, we're going to get you to flood the podcast awards nominees and make sure that everybody who put us to number one in the Apple charts also puts us to number one in the listener award for the podcast awards for New Zealand.
Yes, my minions.
All right, guys. Catch you Tuesday, 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. You can stay with us on Twitter for updates over the weekend. Go the All Blacks. And if you're a worker and you've got Monday off, celebrate it somehow. Do something for it. You know, you've got that day as a commemoration of all the workers who came before you and fought for the rights that you have as people who work, including things like public holidays. Lots of the world, I think America has terrible sort of public holidays, nothing like what we've got. And so, yeah, if I've seen further, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Our day off on Monday is because we're standing on the or Chewy getting time and a half in day in lieu is because we're standing on the shoulders of giants who went before us and fought for these rights for us, workers' rights.
So beat up a factory worker.
Beat up a factory worker and
no, not a worker, not a worker,
CEO.
A factory owner.
Yeah, there we go.
A factory owner.
All right, team.
Oh, got that badly wrong, didn't I?
Stay safe. We'll see you Tuesday night for another edition. Hooroo.
Cheers, folks.